And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live right here at Citizen Television. If you're just joining us, you have missed a smoking show. Why? Because Professor Makau Mutua has come on and he's sparing nobody. He's calling it like he sees it, guns blazing without fear or favor. And that's what he does. Every Sunday in the Sunday Standard, the articles he writes, he hits it. He calls it. And that's what he continues to do. He's in town for a series of lectures. We're glad that he's on the show. Prof, man, you are just... So, I was telling you before the show, someone once said, you rule out William Ruto at your own peril. Yes. That's what someone said.
Yeah, no, I think that's not an unwise statement. You know, it's probably good advice to most people, but not to me. That's because I think that Mr. Ruto has shown a capacity for strategic thinking politically. He's also shown an innate ability, sort of almost like inborn ability for political ruthlessness. Okay? He has a killer instinct. He can find it and he can bring it home. There's no question about it. He's gifted politically. Yeah. Okay? But even Lazarus, you know,
the guy who rose from the dead.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even he had his moments in which his power waned. So I think, and Samson, the fellow whose hair was shaved.
Correct.
Yeah. You know. So I think that the 9 lives of Mr. Ruto's political sort of career have come to an end. I really believe that. One of the things that I think we have to be very careful about how the elite chooses leaders in this country is that the game appears to be rigged. And it appears to be rigged in favor of princes. Okay? Yeah. And Mr. Ruto is not a prince.
No, he was never a prince.
Yeah. And I think this is also the problem somewhat that bedevils Mr. Musyoka. Okay? You know, so the two of them are really political outsiders to this, you know, sort of inborn Kenyan elite. And they're trying to break in. And it's unclear to me whether they'll be able to break in. I think if I was to choose between the two of them, between Mr. Musyoka and Mr. Ruto, who would break in first, I would say Mr. Musyoka has a better chance.
Despite all that's happened?
Well,
fence sitting, wiper, not showing up for the swearing in, all that. Despite that,
I think he's taking political blows for that, and he's paying the political price for it. Yeah. But Kenya is essentially a conservative country. You know, it tends to choose leaders who are not firebrands. You know, since the dawn of independence, you know, our leaders have come from the center right, not the center left of the political equation. Yeah. You know, so that tells you something. Mr. Musyoka, despite his partnership with Mr. Odinga, is fundamentally a center-right politician. That favors him in Kenya. I don't think he's threatening myself. And this question of fence sitting, you know, I think may have some legs. But don't forget the greatest fence sitter in Kenya's history was Mwai Kibaki. That's right. And he sat on that fence all the way to the presidency. Correct. Yeah. Correct. So fence sitters can be attractive, especially in a moment of national crisis.
And Ruto is not attractive. He's got a smooth tongue. He woos the crowd. He draws the crowd. He's Machiavellian, for lack of a better word. He's Machiavellian.
He may have a smooth tongue, but the venom is just underneath.
So you don't trust him?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. You know, being able to give a good speech, you know, and to speak with conviction, all those are good things. But, you know, your words must be matched by your deeds. You know, and when we look at Mr. Ruto's words and we look at his deeds, there is a chasm as wide as the Rift Valley. You know, so I think that he has a huge deficit of legitimacy himself in this country. You know, just as I was saying earlier, I mean, if the people in central Kenya abandon him, who's going to go to?
Okay, what if he does turn around and go to central Kenya and pick someone like Anne Waiguru as his running mate, as has been suggested? He picks that woman, governor who's getting a lot of credit out there, you know, for doing a lot of amazing things, and she has that history in government.
I think that will be the ticket from hell, because
You just disregarded. You just threw this ticket out the window.
I think that will be the ticket from hell, simply because of Ms. Waiguru's sort of checkered history and corruption, you know, scandals.
Yeah, but people here forget that. You know, by 22 they'll have forgotten.
I don't know.
We are very myopic.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, quite frankly. So I think if you put, I mean, Mr. Ruto has his own enormous mountain of scandals, you know, that he has amassed over the years. Why would he bring on another scandal-ridden politician? I mean, it'll be just, you know, a kind of a death wish politically, you know. And I also don't think that the people in central Kenya are enamored of Ms. Waiguru. I think also there is a gender question in central Kenya, which is very deeply entrenched. The people in central Kenya may not see Ms. Waiguru as a person that they would like to, you know, to front, you know, as the next leader, for, you know, for them. I don't think so. I also don't think that Central Kenya is going to raise a serious candidate for 2022. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't.
They won't.
What about a serious or a running mate? You know, someone.
I don't think they will.
They won't be in the picture.
No. I think the best way for people in Central Kenya to sort of, if you will, husband the power and you know, both economic and political that they have amassed since 2002 when Kibaki came into power to 2022.
It's 20 years.
It's 20 years. They will let it go. You know, they're also smart cookies. You know, and they know that Kenyans do not want this again. They know that, and they are smart enough. Yeah. So the key for them will be to find a candidate who is palatable, and who can protect their interests, their economic interests, their political interests. And that person is not Ruto. It's not Ruto.
It's not?
Yeah. It certainly could be Mudavadi. It certainly could be Musyoka. It certainly could be Gideon Moi.
Good. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I don't see that. Gideon Moi, why? Because he's the son of Daniel Arap Moi? What's his claim to fame? I mean, if I was a devil's advocate, his claim to fame to deserve that position.
You see, you know, people become presidents to do several things. One is to do reform, to do fundamental changes. The other is to keep the trains running on time. You know, not do much, just keep the trains running on time. You know, the last one is just to be benign. You know, and I think the people in Central Kenya and other places might feel that Mr. Moi, Gideon, can keep the trains running on time and protect their interests. This is very possible.
And be benign.
And be benign. I don't think they have the same view of Mr. Ruto.
You think he scares them?
I think he scares the bejesus out of them.
Trust the prof to just
I think he
scares the bejesus
out of them.
So you think they look at him and they say, this guy...
They run, they break and run. When they see the fellow coming, they break and run. So you know, like I said, I think when the handshake, you know, went down, you know, on that one morning, was it morning?
Yeah, March the 9th.
Yes,
the morning. Yes.
I think people in Central Kenya are very happy because you know the key that essentially what Mr. Odinga did was to take the key to the jail where Mr. Kenyatta had been locked in by Mr. Ruto, opened that door and throw the key away. Mr. Kenyatta came out. And the people said, okay, we have a president now, you know, there's no problem.
Oh, what an analogy. When you're sitting at your listening post in the U.S., Prof,
yes.
What are people saying about Kenya now? What are they telling you? Because I know, obviously, there was a lot of worry. Plenty of worry before the handshake. What are they saying now? Are they seeing this as a breath of fresh air? We've turned the corner. There is hope now.
Yeah, so I think the events of August 8th and October 26th gave us a very poor name internationally. Very poor name. I think people simply despaired about Kenya. You know, people abroad love Kenya, as you know.
Yes.
They love this country. They see it as a beacon of hope in the world. So there was a lot of despondency among foreigners, you know, out in the West. I think the events of January 30th, the closure of the TV stations and so on, was a new law for Kenya. You know, people out there did not even believe that, in spite of the election problems that Kenya had, that, you know, Mr. Kenyatta's regime would go ahead and shut down the media. Yeah, that was very poor advice. Very poor advice. I don't know who gave it to him. I hope it's not Mr. Githu Muigai, the the begone AG, the begone AG.
Yes.
You know, mercifully so.
Yes.
You know, I hope it was not him. That does not serve Mr. Kenyatta well to take steps like that. You know, this business of you know, thinking that a swearing in of a people's president is this great threat to the country. It's a misconception. Yeah. It was not.
Yeah. And since March 9th, have they looked at us and said?
Since March 9th, what I would say is that I was walking into the law school one day, and a colleague of mine pulled me aside and said, the handshake, explain that to me. All the way in Buffalo, New York.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how powerful the handshake is. You know, and the news was just breaking. So, so I told them I'll have to get back to it. You know, So I think the temperatures have cooled. I think that in the country, and I think abroad, people now see us in a better light. And I think it is in that context that I think we must commend the two gentlemen. Because, you know, in Kenya, when there's a long period of political uncertainty, you know, of chaos in the political system, the people who suffer the most are not the elite.
No.
It's the common people.
Correct. And they have suffered.
And they have suffered a lot.
And like you said, Kitui, 50 years ago, 50 years later, the same.
And Kitui is just...
down the road.
Just down the road here. It's running distance. So some fellow could just jog there.
Yeah, and without a breath.
Without a breath, right. So it is just sad. Yeah. So I think, you know, with respect to the article that, you know, that you mentioned, I think we want to be reminding Kenyans every Sunday of the kinds of things that we have to do. You know, and if we don't do them, we'll be damned. And it will be no one else's fault but our own. Yeah. You know? And so you cannot have a country where the elite flies blind, okay? Yeah. Puts its hand in every tail that they can find, okay? Tribalizes everything, okay? Has no vision about the future. You know, there's constant infighting, you know, there's never a truce. So, and there's never really, you know, a submission, an intellectual submission to the ideals of democracy. You know, this is one of our biggest problems. We pass a good constitution, but the elite do not buy those values in the constitution. Okay? Yeah. And then the people, and here I'll sort of upset some people, then the common persons seem to be tempted by fascism. Yeah. Our own people have a proclivity for fascism. So, for example, when you see a thief being beaten to death, you know, a suspected thief, because they have not been found guilty by any court of law, and people will just set upon that person and beat them to death, that's fascism. That kind of stuff that cannot happen in a civilized society. So that makes my blood just boil when I see things like those. Yeah. You know, when I see elites cheering on and supporting leaders who should not be cheered upon, you know, or supported. People who we know are malignant. That's a problem. That's a particular sort of attraction to fascism that I find very troubling among our people. You know, and I don't know whether it happens because the people see the political leaders doing it, and so they also think they can do the same thing, and they do it. You know, or whether it's a larger problem. You know, but whatever it is something that is very disturbing to me, and should scare every Kenyan.
At the end of the day, Prof, is there hope? Is there hope? Is there light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully it's not an oncoming train?
You know, our people are very entrepreneurial at the same time. You know, you've seen them do great things, both here and abroad. Kenya is on the lips of a lot of people abroad. It is seen as a country that has potential, okay? But we must put our own house in order together. You know, we cannot despair. You know, you have not despaired. You have not despaired. I have not despaired. Okay? And we have not despaired because we have hope that we can pull this thing together. you know. But in order for us to do that, we've got to think big ideas, you know. Jeff, we've got to think big ideas. And we've got to understand that we are not simply competing among each other, we are competing with the world. I keep on saying this, okay? We have the potential to be a great power. This country has. But we seem to shoot every foot that we see, you know? We just seem to shoot ourselves in every foot. You know, how can we do that and hope to advance? I don't think so. So bottom line is, I think, yes, you know, there's optimism. Because, you know, I would not spend my time critiquing Kenya if I thought that there was no optimism.
Yeah, absolutely.
I critique it because I think I can improve it.
Yeah. Tough love.
Yeah, tough love.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Prof, if you were to address our leaders too, Mariga, is that you over there or who's on that? Yeah. If you were to address the two, the handshakers, the president, former prime minister, you call Mr. Kenyatta, Mr. Although soon you might call him the President Kenyatta, you might.
It is possible, but the proof of the pudding will be in the eating.
In the eating.
Yes.
That's your camera over there, Prof. What would you tell them?
Yeah, so what I would tell Mr. Odinga and Mr. Kenyatta is that you've taken the first step towards national reconciliation. You've shown us that you can put your own personal interests to the side for a moment. I appreciate that, and I support that journey that you've started. But let it not be gamemanship. Let it not be a gotcha kind of a game where one party gets something from the other party and you don't come together. There are larger issues to be resolved. There are constitutional issues to be addressed. There are questions of corruption. There are questions of devolution that should be looked at. And there are questions of tribalism that should be addressed. So let this moment be a singular one for Kenya and show us that indeed you can lead us to a better place.
Prof, you just called it. You just nailed it, as always. Nailed it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, man.
Thank you.
And welcome home.
Thank you.
And you know, you and I have to keep talking. Every time you come, you got to come on the show, man. Bench is bigger now.
I would come twice on Sundays if I was here.
Professor Makau Mutua, folks, calling it like he sees it. You know what? We need people like this to call it each time, because so many of us are afraid to talk about everything, especially when it comes to any elephant in any room. We have to talk about it. Pende musipende. It is what it is at the end of the day. Prof just nailed it. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. By the way, JKL is powered by Telkom Kenya. Telkom, moving with you. Okay. 2. Okay, 1. Yep. Professor Makau Mutua calling it like he sees it without fear or favor. By the way, JKL is powered by Standard Chartered. That's right. By the way, do you think you can get monthly income from investments but wondered how? Similar to rental income. Well, Standard Chartered Wealth Management Offshore Solutions give you access to mutual funds that pay you monthly income. They take it so seriously that they have partnerships with the biggest global fund houses such as BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Allianz, Schroders, and many, many more. Priority banking is all about growing and protecting your wealth. And Standard Chartered, remember, is here for good. Also JKL, powered by Telkom Kenya. Telkom, moving with you. Thanks so much for being a part of this show. Remember, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Tomorrow morning on Jeff and Jalas on Hot 96. Join us from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the best of morning radio. Thanks again for being a part of the show. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Makau Mutua, at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag, as always, is JK Live. Thanks again. Good night. Good luck. God bless this great republic of ours. Prof.
Thank you, bro.
Asante.